happening very, very soon. 1 in 2 chance. This is according to one of the smartest and richest guys in America. His name is Ray Dalio, and he posted this on his LinkedIn today. It appears to me that the odds of transitioning from the contained conflicts, the one in Israel and the terrorists, to a more uncontained hot war that includes the major powers have risen from 35% to about 50% over the last 2 years. We don't want this, but we got this. And why? Joe Biden. No Donald Trump in the White House, but this vapid, potentially corrupt, and feckless, doesn't know how to do anything, not good at anything, no skill, and the country and the world are burning. Afghanistan, our defeat in Afghanistan. He was smiling the whole time. You know, I hate that smile, to be honest. As our streets become, well, free-for-alls, no laws anymore, no rules, you can steal whatever you want. Joe just sits there and pretends everything is fine. As our kids are corrupted, hanging around drag queens, right? I mean, this is perverse. Any sane leader would speak out against it and do everything he or she could to stop it, but not Joe. The border, hello? I mean, how can anybody other than somebody, very, very sinister, someone who is owned, someone who is compromised, who would go along with this? And the latest, the Middle East, on fire again. It was somewhat tranquil for a while. Remember, we beat ISIS, and now it's on fire all over again. Joe Biden, the king of chaos. That is what he has secured for America. What was his campaign slogan a couple of years ago? Remember it? Build back better. Yeah, right. Now, I mean, if we were honest, vote for me. I'm destroying the world. What else? I mean, that can't be the slogan, so he will lie like crazy. He did some of that today, showing up at a shipyard in Philadelphia for some reason, and falling down on his way up onto the stage. Yep. Nope, not good, not good. He tries to act all cool, like I meant to do that. Anyway, he said he talked to the families. I guess he called some of the families of those who are being held hostage in Gaza, and he said it went something like this.
This morning, I spoke with the family members of all those Americans who are still unaccounted for on a Zoom call for about an hour and 10, 15 minutes. They're going through agony, not knowing what the status of their sons, daughters, husbands, wives, children are. You know, it's gut-wrenching.
All right, those families need all the comfort and assistance and prayers in the world. I just wonder what Joe really did on that phone call. He has been known to botch what he's supposed to be good at. Empathy, remember the consoler-in-chief? The dignified transfer when those coffins came off the plane and he was spotted looking at his watch multiple times and being so self-absorbed. And when he's meeting with the families, talking about himself, talking about Bo, they are still angry about that.
Today is the date 2 years ago that we received our kids home at Dover. 2 years ago today, where we were disrespected with stories of Biden's son and him looking at his watch.
The disrespect that we were shown with him checking his watch, not even looking at us, it was just total disrespect.
And there couldn't be anything more disgusting and cowardly than the way you have treated us. You are a disgrace to this nation. You have no business having ultimate command over our military, and I regret not saying that to your face when I had the opportunity in Dover. Well, I stood there on the tarmac watching you check your watch over and over again. All I wanted to do was shout out, "It's 2:30. But out of respect to the other grieving families, I bit my tongue once again.
You know, the troops who died, the 13, they came from all over the country, from all different walks of life. And they held that common view that Joe was wildly inappropriate and insensitive. I wonder what happened on that call today. Back to the speech for a moment. You notice he's pushing Bidenomics. Bidenomics! It shows you how inept, really, the Biden administration is. Nobody likes Bidenomics. It's not working as a campaign thing, okay? Look at this. You can interpret it a couple of ways. 50% of the people think it means higher inflation. Another 49% thinks it means higher taxes. It's not good. Back to our international crisis. Joe had a unique observation.
It's also a priority for me to urgently address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. You know, we can't lose sight of the fact that the overwhelming majority of Palestinians had nothing to do with Hamas and Hamas's appalling attacks, and they're suffering as a result as well.
This is feel-good stuff that's not true. I've heard it before, especially in Gaza. Hamas is wildly popular. If there were an election in Gaza, Hamas would win 58% of the vote. In America, that would be a landslide. What has Joe done? We hear about these phone calls. Things are happening behind the scenes. Front and center, though, they have redeployed a couple of aircraft carriers, they tell us. The USS Ford, that carrier task force, and the USS Eisenhower on the right. I actually landed on the Eisenhower once. I did, actually, as a flight student a long time ago. Carriers aren't quite what they used to be. They try to tell us that this is the biggest thing that can happen. This is a real warning to our adversaries that America means business.
We have moved urgently to respond to this crisis and to send a strong message of deterrence. The USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group is now in the region.
The aircraft carrier that was sent to the region is there to send a message to other players in the region not to get involved no matter what.
The U.S. DOD is moving forces into the region, right? I mean, basically that message of sending the aircraft carrier group closer was, don't mess around here, don't escalate this further.
The thing is, whenever we do that, we really don't follow up with flying planes off the aircraft carriers and actually bombing stuff. Unless it's a big invasion like Iraq or Afghanistan, if we just do it as a show of force, we never really follow up. It was more of a Cold War move, and the enemy has figured that out. Also, they kind of understand that carriers are close by pretty much all of the time anyway. And then there's this. The people on the aircraft carriers, they're not as impressive as they once were. I'm sorry, but they're led by people who allow things like this. Yeah, on a carrier. Recently, they had LGBTQ spoken word night. I remember once a month we saw a movie. We saw a Mel Gibson movie maybe, but they had this. And it's really a thing.
I was able to deploy on the USS Gerald R. Ford last fall, and the coolest thing I did on board was to be able to participate in a LGBTQ spoken word night, and I was able to read a poem that I wrote to the whole ship, and that was probably the culmination of the whole deployment.
Sounds more suited for a special summer camp experience for, I don't know, but it's hardly military. Now that we have a real moment of crisis, our weakened military, our woke military, we can see it was so stupid to do this, so unnecessary. But that's the one we got. You know, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the former guy, Milley, he made this individual the Sergeant Major, the Joint Staff Sergeant Major. His name is Grinston, and he should be concerned with all kinds of things other than what he talks about here.
I was born in 1968. My father was black. My mother was white. When I was 3, they divorced, and I moved to Alabama. Racial identity is something that I struggle with my entire life. Sometimes my life, I felt like it's in the movie, The Green Book, where the actor gets out of the car and he says, I'm not black enough for the black people, I'm not white enough for the white people. That's my story.
Not interesting, but that's what they talk about. That's what they're all about. What you look like, what's on the outside. And that man, the senior enlisted guy for the entire military, is encouraging officers to blow off cops.
Get out of the car now!
I'm serving this country and this is how I'm treated. Get your hands...
Get out of the car now! Get out of the car!
Get your hands off me, please. Get your hands off me.
You know what?
Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me.
Back up, Daniel.
I didn't do anything. Don't do that.
Sir.
He doesn't have to get out of the car. Why? Because he's in uniform? What's going on? Is it because he's black? Yes. And that BLM stuff and all the don't respect law enforcement, it caught on. And for his defiance, for his lack of cooperation, he was officially praised by the military. That guy who was talking about his racial journey in that movie. Lieutenant Nazario, the guy you saw in the car, represented himself and our Army well through his calm professional response. I'm very proud of him. All right, so lots of people are very proud, right? Pride and all that stuff, LGBT spoken word, they told their truth. Does it make us any better in helping the Israelis get these women out of captivity, rescuing them? Does it make us 1 ounce better or more effective? No. Does it make us 1 ounce more effective in stopping people like this, the terrorists in this lawnmower? Looks pretty makeshift, looks pretty bogus, right? Well, you can do a lot of damage, and we don't have a clue about how to combat this. We are in big trouble, and Joe and the left, they brought it. They brought it, and we got to bring it next November.